Chen pressed her back against the cold brick wall of the community center, watching the rain streak down the windows like tears she refused to shed. Her fingers traced the edges of the eviction notice crumpled in her pocket. 72 hours. That's all she had left before losing the only home her 8-year-old daughter had ever known. The community center buzzed with the usual Friday evening chaos. Volunteers ladled soup into styrofoam bowls while families huddled around folding tables, their conversations a mix of Spanish, English, and the universal language of worry. Maya had been coming here for 3 months now, ever since her hours at the diner got cut and the medical bills from her mother's cancer treatment consumed what little savings she'd managed to scrape together. "Mom, can we get seconds?" Lily appeared at her elbow, tugging on Maya's worn jacket. At 8, Lily possessed an infectious optimism that made Maya's chest ache with both pride and guilt. How long before reality dimmed that bright spark in her daughter's eyes? "Of course, sweetheart." Maya forced a smile, though her stomach cramped with its own emptiness. She'd given Lily her portion again, claiming she wasn't hungry while watching her daughter's face light up with each spoonful. Outside, the November wind howled through downtown Seattle, sending leaves skittering across the pavement like lost souls searching for shelter. Maya knew that feeling intimately. She'd been searching for shelter, emotional, financial, spiritual, ever since David left 2 years ago, taking their joint savings and leaving behind only broken promises and a daughter who still asked when Daddy was coming home as they prepared to leave. Maya noticed him for the first time. An elderly man sat alone in the corner, his weathered hands wrapped around an untouched bowl of soup. His clothes were layered and patched, the kind of careful mending that spoke of someone who'd learned to make things last. But it was his eyes that caught Maya's attention. Intelligent, watchful, carrying a depth that seemed at odds with his circumstances. "Excuse me." Maya found herself walking over, Lily's hand secure in hers. "Are you all right? You haven't touched your soup." The man looked up, and Maya was struck by the kindness in his face. Lines mapped his features like roads leading to stories she'd never hear, but his smile was genuine. "Just thinking, dear. Sometimes the mind needs feeding before the body can follow." His voice carried a slight accent she couldn't place, cultured, in a way that made her curious. "Maya," she offered. "This is Lily." "Benjamin," he replied, extending a calloused hand. "Pleased to meet you both." Lily, ever the social butterfly, launched into a detailed explanation of her day at school, how Mrs. Rodriguez had let her feed the class hamster, and how she'd drawn a picture of their apartment building that now hung on the refrigerator. Benjamin listened with the focused attention of someone who understood that being heard was sometimes more valuable than being fed. "Lily, honey, let's let Benjamin enjoy his dinner," Maya said gently, though she noticed he still hadn't taken a bite. "Actually," Benjamin said, his eyes meeting Maya's with surprising intensity, "I wonder if I might ask a favor. I'm afraid I'm not as hungry as I thought, and it seems wasteful to let this go to waste. Would you mind terribly if I offered it to someone else?" Maya recognized the careful diplomacy of his request. He'd noticed her hollow cheeks, the way she'd watched Lily eat with the focused intensity of a mother who'd forgotten to feed herself. "That's very kind," she said quietly, "but we've already eaten." "Of course," Benjamin nodded, understanding. Passing between them. "Perhaps someone else then." As they walked toward the exit, Maya felt the familiar weight of her responsibilities settling back onto her shoulders. The eviction notice, the unpaid utilities, the growing pile of medical bills. Each one a reminder of how precarious their situation had become. She'd already sold everything of value. Her grandmother's engagement ring, David's golf clubs that he'd somehow forgotten to take, even her good winter coat. All that remained was the $20 bill folded in her wallet, earmarked for Lily's school lunch money for the next week. The rain had intensified by the time they reached the bus stop, turning the world into a watercolor painting where edges blurred and colors ran together. Maya pulled Lily close, using her own body as a shield against the weather. The bus was late, as usual, leaving them exposed to the elements and Maya's growing anxiety about getting home before Lily caught cold. "Mom, look," Lily whispered, pointing across the street. Benjamin stood under a flickering streetlight, his thin jacket offering little protection against the rain. He'd pulled his hood up, but Maya could see him shivering as he waited for something, or Someone. There was no bus stop on that corner, no shelter to explain his presence. He's getting soaked, Lily observed with the practical concern of a child who'd learned to notice when people were struggling. Maya watched Benjamin for a long moment, something tugging at her chest. She thought about the eviction notice, about the $20 that stood between Lily and hunger next week. She thought about her mother's voice on the phone yesterday, trying to sound strong while admitting the chemo was getting harder. She thought about all the reasons she couldn't afford to help anyone else right now. Then she thought about the way Benjamin had listened to Lily, the careful kindness in his offer to share his soup, the dignity he'd maintained even while asking for help in his own way. "Stay right here," Maya told Lily, fishing the $20 bill from her wallet. "Don't move." She jogged across the street, her sneakers splashing through puddles that had formed in the broken asphalt. Benjamin looked up as she approached, surprise evident in his expression. "I know it's not much," Maya said, pressing the bill into his hands before she could change her mind. "But maybe it'll help you get somewhere warm tonight." Benjamin stared at the money, then at Maya, his eyes widening with something that looked almost like pain. "Miss, I can't. You have a daughter to think about. That's exactly why I'm giving it to you," Maya said, surprised by the conviction in her own voice. "I want her to see that we help each other, even when we don't have much to give. Especially then." For a moment, Benjamin seemed to struggle with something, his mouth opening and closing as if he were trying to find words that wouldn't come. Finally, he tucked the money into his jacket pocket. "Thank you," he said simply, but his voice carried a weight that made Maya think she'd given him more than $20. "Take care of yourself, Benjamin," Maya said, already turning to hurry back to Lily before the bus arrived. "Maya," Benjamin called after her, his voice nearly lost in the rain. "What you've done tonight, it matters more than you know." She turned back, but he was already walking away, his figure disappearing into the maze of shadows and streetlights that made up the city's forgotten corners. Something about his posture, the way he carried himself despite the rain and the late hour, stuck with her during the bus ride home. "You gave him our lunch money, didn't you?" Lily asked quietly as they settled into their seats. Maya's chest tightened. "How did you?" "You get that look when you're worried about money," Lily said with the matter-of-fact wisdom of a child who'd learned to read her mother's moods. "Like when you're trying to decide which bill to pay first." The honesty in her daughter's voice nearly broke Maya's heart. "Are you upset?" Lily considered this seriously, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Mrs. Rodriguez says kindness is like planting seeds. Sometimes you don't see them grow right away, but they always grow somewhere." Maya pulled her daughter closer, marveling at the resilience and wisdom packed into such a small body. "Mrs. Rodriguez is a smart woman. So are you, Mom. That's why you gave him the money." As their bus wound through the city streets, Maya tried to ignore the growing knot in her stomach. She'd figure out lunch money somehow. Maybe she could pick up an extra shift at the diner or sell the few books she'd been holding on to. She'd made harder choices before. What she couldn't shake was the memory of Benjamin's eyes when she'd handed him the money. There'd been something there, a flash of recognition or surprise that went beyond gratitude. Almost as if he'd been testing something, and she'd passed a test she hadn't known she was taking. Their apartment building loomed ahead, a concrete monument to urban decay that had somehow become home. Maya had grown to love their small space. On the third floor, the way morning light streamed through the kitchen window, the sounds of their neighbors' lives creating a symphony of shared existence. In 72 hours, it would all be gone. "Mom." Lily's voice was small as they climbed the stairs. "Are we going to have to move?" Maya's hand froze on the railing. She'd been so careful, so determined to shield Lily from the worst of their situation. "What makes you ask that? I heard you on the phone with Grandma yesterday. You were crying after you hung up." The weight of trying to protect her daughter from a reality that was rapidly overtaking them both settled on Maya's shoulders like a lead blanket. "Sometimes grown-ups have to make difficult decisions, sweetheart. But whatever happens, we'll face it together. Like a team. Like a team." As Maya tucked Lily into bed that night, she found herself thinking about Benjamin again. There'd been something almost familiar about him, though she was certain they'd never met before. Maybe it was the way he'd looked at Lily, with the gentle attention of someone who understood how precious and fragile childhood could be. Or maybe it was the careful way he'd spoken, As if he were used to measuring his words for maximum impact, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from her manager at the diner. Can you cover Sarah's shift tomorrow? She's got the flu. Extra hours meant extra money, and extra money meant maybe, just maybe, she could buy herself a few more days to figure out a solution to the eviction notice. She typed back quickly. Yes, I'll be there. Sleep came fitfully, filled with dreams of rain and strangers, and the feeling that she was standing at the edge of something vast and unknowable. In her dreams, Benjamin stood under the streetlight again, but this time he wasn't shivering. This time he was smiling. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window and the sound of Lily singing in the kitchen. For a moment, she let herself pretend that everything was normal, that they weren't balanced on the edge of homelessness, that $20 didn't represent the difference between her daughter eating lunch and going hungry. Mom, there's someone. At the door, Lily called, her voice carrying a note of excitement that made Maya's stomach flutter with anxiety. Maya glanced at the clock. 8:30 a.m. on a Saturday. Too early for bill collectors, too late for emergencies. She pulled on her robe and padded to the front door, peering through the peephole to see a woman in a business suit holding a manila envelope. Miss Chen. The woman was professional, polished, the kind of person who belonged in boardrooms rather than rundown apartment buildings. My name is Sarah Martinez. I represent the Chen Foundation. Could we speak for a moment? Maya's hand stilled on the door handle. The Chen Foundation? Yes, ma'am. It's regarding a substantial matter that requires your immediate attention. Maya's mind raced. She'd never heard of the Chen Foundation, and the timing felt too coincidental to be anything but bad news. Still, something about the woman's demeanor suggested urgency rather than threat. Just a moment. Maya called through the door, quickly checking that Lily was safely in her room before opening it with the chain still attached. Sarah Martinez was younger than her voice had suggested, probably in her early 30s, with kind eyes and the sort of confidence that came from delivering life-changing news on a regular basis. Miss Chun, I apologize for the early hour, but the nature of this matter requires discretion and privacy. May I come in? Maya hesitated, every instinct screaming caution. But something about the woman's demeanor, the way she held herself with respectful patience rather than aggressive pushiness, made her open the door. 5 minutes, Maya said, leading her to the small living room where sunlight revealed every threadbare corner and carefully mended piece of furniture. Sarah Martinez settled into the offered chair, placing the manila envelope on the coffee table. Between them, Ms. Chun, last night you performed an act of kindness toward a man named Benjamin. You gave him $20 during a rainstorm. Maya's blood turned to ice. I don't understand. Is he all right? Did something happen? He's perfectly fine, Sarah assured her quickly. In fact, he's the reason I'm here. Ms. Chun, the man you helped last night is Benjamin Thornfield, the founder and CEO of Thornfield Industries. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Thornfield Industries, she'd seen their logo on buildings throughout Seattle, knew they were one of the largest technology companies in the Pacific Northwest. Benjamin, the man who'd sat alone with untouched soup, who'd shivered in the rain like any other person down on their luck, was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That's impossible, Maya whispered. He was at the community center. He was homeless. Not homeless, Sarah corrected gently. Mr. Thornfield has been conducting what he calls reality assessments throughout the city. He disguises himself and puts himself in situations where he can observe how people treat those they perceive as having less than they do. It's how he determines who receives assistance from his foundation. Maya felt the room spinning around her. He was testing me? In a sense, yes. But Ms. Chun, what you did last night, giving away what was likely your last $20 to help a stranger, that wasn't about passing a test. That was about who you are as a person. The manila envelope sat between them like a bridge between Maya's old life and something she couldn't yet comprehend. I don't understand what any of this has to do with me. Sarah Martinez's smile was warm, genuine. Mr. Thornfield has instructed me to present you with several options. The first is immediate. Your rent for the next 12 months has been paid in full, along with all outstanding utilities and any other debts you might have related to housing. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. He can't. That's not. The second option is a position with Thornfield Industries. Mr. Thornfield was impressed not only by your kindness, but by your daughter's wisdom and your obvious dedication to her well-being. He's prepared to offer you a position in their community outreach division, with a salary that would allow you to provide for your family comfortably. Maya's mind reeled. Why? I don't have experience in. The third option, Sarah continued, is the most significant. Mr. Thornfield would like to establish a scholarship fund in your name, the Chen Scholarship for Single Parents. It would provide educational opportunities and financial assistance to families in situations similar to yours. You would oversee its implementation and distribution. Maya stood up abruptly, pacing to the window where she could see the city stretching out below. Somewhere out there, Benjamin Thornfield was probably sitting in a corporate office, making decisions that affected thousands of people. And somehow, impossibly, she'd become one of them. I need you to understand something, Maya said, turning back to Sarah. When I gave him that money, I wasn't thinking about getting anything back. I was thinking about my daughter, about the kind of person I want her to become. If I take this, any of this, does that change what it meant? Sarah Martinez studied her for a long moment. Miss Chen, may I share something Mr. Thornfield told me about last night? Maya nodded, though her heart was racing so fast she could barely hear over the sound of her own pulse. He said that in 30 years of conducting these assessments, he's never encountered someone who gave away their last $20 while facing eviction. He said most people, when they discovered who he really was, would ask if their kindness had been genuine or if they'd been subconsciously hoping for a reward. You're the first person who's worried that accepting help might diminish the value of what you gave. Tears Maya hadn't realized were falling burned tracks down her cheeks. I just want to do right by Lily. She's all I have. Mr. Thornfield would like to meet with you both, if you're willing. He'd like to explain his foundations, mission, and how you might fit into it. But Ms. Chen, there's something else you should know. Maya wiped her eyes, trying to regain her composure. What? Mr. Thornfield's own daughter died in a car accident 3 years ago. She was 8 years old. When he watched you with Lily last night, when he saw how you protected her from the rain, and gave away your lunch money rather than let her see you struggle, it reminded him of something he'd lost. Your kindness didn't just help him. It helped heal something in him that he thought was broken forever. If stories like this stay with you, there are many more waiting on black frame stories. Sometimes the most powerful moments come from the smallest acts of courage, the decisions we make when we think nobody is watching. Maya's story reminds us that kindness isn't about having enough to give. It's about choosing to give what we have, even when it costs us everything. Maya sank back into her chair, the weight of revelation settling around her like a blanket. He lost his daughter? Her name was Emma. She'd be about Lily's age now. Mr. Thornfield has been searching for ways to honor her memory while helping families like yours. Your act of kindness last night showed him a path forward he hadn't considered. The apartment felt different now, charged with possibility and weighted with responsibility. Maya thought about the eviction notice, about the bills that had seemed insurmountable just hours ago, about the future she'd been unable to imagine for herself and Lily. What would meeting with him involve? Lunch, somewhere comfortable for Lily. He'd like to explain his foundation's work and see if you might be interested in helping him expand it. No pressure, no obligations. Just a conversation between two people who understand what it means to put family first. Maya closed her eyes, trying to process the magnitude of what was happening. When she opened them, Sarah Martinez was watching her with patient understanding. Miss Chen, I've been working with Mr. Thornfield for 5 years. I've seen him help hundreds of people, change countless lives. But I've never seen him as moved as he was when he told me about your encounter last night. Whatever you decide, know that what you did mattered. It mattered to him, and it matters to everyone who will benefit from the ripple effect of your kindness. Mom, Lily's voice came from the hallway, tentative and curious. Is everything okay? Maya looked at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. Lily, sweetheart, can you come here for a moment? Lily appeared in the doorway, her hair still tousled from sleep, wearing the unicorn pajamas that were her current favorite. She looked between Maya and Sarah with the careful assessment of a child who'd learned to read adult emotions. Lily, this is Ms. Martinez. She has some news about the man we helped last night. Lily's eyes widened. Benjamin, is he okay? Sarah Martinez smiled, and Maya could see why she'd been chosen to deliver this kind of news. He's more than okay, Lily. He wanted me to thank you for being so kind to him and for sharing your mom with him when he needed help. Mom shares with everyone, Lily said matter-of-factly. That's what families do. Sarah's expression softened. Your mom is very special, Lily. Benjamin thinks so too. He'd like to meet with both of you to say thank you properly, if that's something you'd be interested in. Lily looked to Maya, seeking permission and reassurance. Maya nodded, though her heart was still racing with the implications of everything Sarah had revealed. Will he be wearing different clothes? Lily asked. Because Mom says you should never judge people by how they look, but I'm just curious. Sarah laughed, a genuine sound that filled the small apartment with warmth. He'll probably be wearing a suit, but he's the same person you met last night. Sometimes grown-ups have to dress differently for different situations, but that doesn't change who they are inside. Like how Mom wears her uniform to work, but wears regular clothes at home. Exactly like that. Maya watched this exchange with growing wonder. Her daughter, who'd learned to navigate adult complexities with grace and wisdom, was taking this revelation in stride. Maybe that was the real lesson here. That kindness didn't require understanding all the circumstances, just the willingness to act from the heart. So, Maya said, looking at Sarah, if we agreed to meet with him, what would that look like? Tomorrow afternoon, if you're available. There's a family restaurant downtown, nothing fancy, somewhere Lily would be comfortable. Mr. Thornfield will explain his foundation's work and ask if you might be interested in helping him expand it. No commitments, no pressure. Maya felt the last of her resistance crumbling. And the rent, the bills, already taken care of. Mr. Thornfield's instructions were clear. Regardless of what you decide about future involvement, your housing situation has been resolved. You and Lily are safe. The word safe hit Maya like a physical relief. For the first time in months, she could breathe without the weight of impending homelessness pressing down on her chest. Lily was safe. They were safe. Mom, Lily said, tugging on Maya's sleeve. Remember what Mrs. Rodriguez says about kindness being like planting seeds? Maya nodded, understanding flooding through her. You think our seeds are growing? I think they grew into something bigger than we expected. Sarah Martinez gathered her papers, preparing to leave. Mr. Thornfield will be so pleased that you're willing to meet with him. He's been looking forward to this conversation since last night. As Sarah reached the door, Maya found herself calling after her. Ms. Martinez, can I ask you something? Of course. How many other people has he tested like this? How many others have passed? Sarah's expression grew thoughtful. In terms of people who've received assistance from the foundation, hundreds. In terms of people who've given away their last $20 to help a stranger, you're the first. Ms. Chen, you're the very first. After Sarah left, Maya and Lily sat together on the couch, the manila envelope between them containing documents that would change their lives forever. Maya opened it slowly, reading through housing agreements, job offers, and scholarship proposals that seemed too generous to be real. Mom, Lily said, her voice small. Are we rich now? Maya considered the question carefully. No, sweetheart. We're not rich, but we're not poor anymore either. We're something in between. We're blessed. What's the difference? Rich people sometimes forget what it feels like to need help. Poor people sometimes forget they have things to give, but blessed people remember both. Lily nodded seriously, as if this explanation made perfect sense to her 8-year-old logic. So we can still help other people? Especially now. We can help other people even more than before. That evening, Maya called her mother to share the news. Her mother listened in stunned silence as Maya recounted the day's events, the impossible generosity of a stranger, the way $20 had multiplied into security and opportunity. Mija, her mother said finally, her voice thick with emotion. I always knew your heart was your greatest gift. Now the world knows it too. Mom, about the medical bills. No, her mother interrupted gently. Those are my responsibility. You use this blessing for you and Lily. Create the life you've always deserved. Maya understood that her mother's pride was as important as her own dignity had been when she'd first met Benjamin. Some gifts were meant to be given, others to be received with grace. Sunday afternoon found Maya and Lily walking into Rosario's, a family restaurant in downtown Seattle that specialized in comfort food and welcomed children with crayons and coloring books. Maya had chosen her best dress, the navy blue one she'd worn to job interviews and parent-teacher conferences, while Lily had insisted on wearing her favorite sundress with the sunflower pattern. Benjamin Thornfield was already seated at a corner table, and Maya was struck by how different he looked in a tailored suit. The intelligent eyes were the same, the kind smile unchanged, but everything else about him spoke of power and authority. Yet when he stood to greet them, his manner was gentle, almost hesitant. "Maya, Lily," he said, his voice carrying the same warmth it had possessed in the rain. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for paying our rent," Lily said with characteristic directness, earning a laugh from Benjamin. "You're very welcome, though I should be thanking you for sharing your mother with me Friday night." As they settled into their seats, Maya found herself studying Benjamin's face, looking for signs of the man she'd encountered at the community center. "I have to ask," she said, "how long have you been doing this? The testing, I mean." Benjamin's expression grew thoughtful. 3 years. Ever since Emma died. I started questioning everything about my life, about how I'd been using my resources. I realized I'd been writing checks to charities without really understanding what poverty looked like, what it felt like to choose between rent and food. "So, you decided to experience it yourself?" "I decided to observe it. To put myself in situations where I could see how people treat each other when they think nobody important is watching. You'd be surprised how much you can learn about someone's character when they think their actions don't matter." Lily looked up from her coloring book. "But they always matter, don't they? Even if nobody sees them." Benjamin's smile was soft, tinged with something that might have been grief. "That's exactly right, Lily. Emma used to say something similar. She'd say that kindness counts even when nobody's counting." Maya felt her heart clench at the pain in his voice. "Tell me about her." She was curious about everything, like Lily. She wanted to know why some people had more than others, why some children didn't have enough to eat. "She made me promise that if anything ever happened to her, I'd use my money to help families like yours. And that's why you started the foundation. That's why I started the testing. I wanted to make sure I was helping people who would use assistance to help others, not just themselves. I wanted to find people who understood that kindness is a responsibility, not just a feeling." Over lunch, Benjamin explained his foundation's work. They funded emergency housing for families facing eviction, provided scholarships for single parents, pursuing education, and supported community centers like the one where they'd met. But what he was proposing for Maya was different, a chance to design and oversee programs that would identify and assist families in crisis. "I've been managing the foundation from a distance," Benjamin admitted, "making decisions based on reports and statistics. But Friday night, watching you with Lily, seeing how you protected her from the rain and gave away your lunch money, it reminded me that the best help comes from people who understand what it means to need help." Maya set down her fork, studying his face. "You want me to help you because I was poor. I want you to help me because you were poor and still chose to give. There's a difference." "What would it involve exactly?" Benjamin leaned forward, his eyes lighting up with the kind of enthusiasm Maya imagined he'd once brought to building his technology empire. "We'd start with a pilot program in Seattle. Mobile units that could identify families in crisis before they reached the eviction stage. Financial counseling, job placement assistance, emergency childcare. Everything you wish had been available when you needed it. And you'd want me to run this. I'd want you to design it. You understand the gaps in the system because you've lived them. You know what kind of help actually helps and what kind of help just makes people feel better about themselves." Maya glanced at Lily, who was listening to their conversation with the focused attention of a child who'd learned that adult decisions affected her directly. "What do you think, sweetheart?" "I think Benjamin needs our help," Lily said simply. "Like how we needed help, and he gave it to us." Benjamin's eyes filled with tears. He quickly blinked away. "She's remarkable, Maya. Emma would have loved her." "She would have loved you too," Maya said softly. "You're honoring her memory in the most beautiful way." They spent the rest of lunch discussing practicalities, timelines, budgets, staff requirements. Maya found herself drawing on experiences she'd never thought of as qualifications: the humiliation of applying for assistance, the complexity of navigating social services, the way poverty could make people feel invisible. "There's something else I'd like to propose," Benjamin said as they prepared to leave. "The Chen Scholarship Fund. I'd like to establish it with a $5 million endowment, focused on single parents pursuing education or career training. Maya's breath caught. $5 million? Your $20 changed my life. Maya, let me help you change other people's lives. As they walked toward the restaurant's exit, Maya felt the weight of decision settling on her shoulders. This wasn't just about accepting help anymore. It was about accepting responsibility for helping others. I need to ask you something, Maya said, stopping near the door. When you were sitting in that community center, when you were cold and wet and alone, what were you thinking? Benjamin considered the question seriously. I was thinking about Emma, about how she'd want me to handle having so much when others had so little. And I was thinking about how lonely it is to be surrounded by people who only see your money, not your heart. And when I gave you the $20, I was thinking that maybe I'd found someone who saw my heart first. Maya felt tears threatening, but this time she didn't fight them. I'd like to accept your offer, Benjamin. All of it. The job, the scholarship fund, the chance to help other families. Are you sure? I'm sure. But I have one condition. Benjamin raised an eyebrow. What's that? I want you to keep doing the testing. I want you to keep putting yourself in situations where you can see how people treat each other. But I want to help you design better tests, ones that don't just measure kindness, but understand the different ways people show it. Benjamin's smile was radiant. I think that's exactly what Emma would have wanted. As they parted ways outside the restaurant, Maya felt the last piece of her old life falling away. The woman who'd given her last $20 to a stranger was gone, replaced by someone who understood that the greatest gift wasn't the help she'd received, but the opportunity to pay it forward. Mom, Lily said as they walked toward the bus stop. Do you think we'll see Benjamin again? I think we'll see him a lot, sweetheart. We're going to be working together. Good. I like him. He listens like you do. Maya squeezed her daughter's hand, understanding that this was Lily's highest compliment. In a world that often overlooked children, being truly heard was a gift beyond measure. 6 months later, Maya stood in the offices of Thornfield Industries, looking out at the Seattle skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. The Maya Chen Scholarship Fund had already assisted 30 families, and the mobile outreach units were operating in 3 neighborhoods. But the real measure of success wasn't in the numbers. It was in the stories, like Maria Santos, who'd been facing eviction when the mobile unit found her, and who was now enrolled in nursing school while her children attended the Foundation's after-school program. Or James Wright, who'd been sleeping in his car with his teenage son and now had stable housing and a job with the Foundation's partner companies. Mom, look! Lily burst through the office door, her arms full of drawings from the children's art therapy program they'd established. Mrs. Rodriguez says these are good enough to hang in the gallery. Maya smiled, still amazed by how naturally Lily had adapted to their new life. She attended a better school now, had her own room in their new apartment, and seemed to understand that their good fortune came with responsibilities. They're beautiful, sweetheart. What did you draw? This one's the community center where we met Benjamin. This one's our old apartment. And this one's our new apartment. See how they're all connected? Maya looked at the drawings, seeing the careful way Lily had drawn lines between each building, connecting their journey from need to abundance to service. They're all part of the same story, aren't they? Mrs. Rodriguez says every ending is really a beginning. We just don't know it yet. Benjamin appeared in the doorway, carrying a stack of applications for the scholarship fund. Maya, we've got 15 new applications this week. All single parents, all recommended by the mobile units. What's the most interesting one? A young father, works 2 jobs, but still can't afford childcare while he attends community college. His daughter is about Lily's age. Maya nodded already, mentally arranging the resources they'd need. Set up a meeting. And Benjamin, include the daughter in the interview. I want to hear what she thinks about her father's dreams. Benjamin smiled, understanding that Maya's approach to helping families was as much about dignity as it was about dollars. Emma would have loved this, Maya. All of it. She would have loved you for doing it. As evening approached, Maya found herself thinking about the night that had changed everything. Sometimes she still couldn't believe that $20, money she couldn't afford to give away, had led to this new life of purpose and possibility. What would anyone do in that situation? Stories like this make people wonder about the power of seemingly small choices, about the way kindness can ripple outward in ways we never imagine. Mom, Lily said, settling next to Maya on the couch in their new apartment. Do you ever miss our old life? Maya considered the question carefully. I miss the simplicity of it sometimes, when all we had to worry about was taking care of each other. But now we take care of lots of people. Now we take care of lots of people, Maya agreed. And they take care of us too, in their own ways. Like a big family. Like a big family. Lily snuggled closer, and Maya felt the completeness of their transformed life settling around them like a warm blanket. The eviction notice that had once represented her worst nightmare now seemed like a distant memory, replaced by the security of knowing that not only were they safe, but they were actively making safety possible for others. Mom, Lily said thoughtfully, do you think Benjamin knew? When you gave him the money, do you think he knew you were giving him everything? Maya stroked her daughter's hair, remembering the weight of that $20 bill in her hand, the moment of decision that it felt, both impossible and inevitable. I think he knew it was important. I think he could see that it mattered to me. And that's why he wanted to help us. I think he wanted to help us because he saw that we were willing to help him, even when it cost us something we couldn't afford to lose. Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing this with the seriousness she brought to all discussions about fairness and kindness. So it's not really about the money, is it? It's about caring more about other people than about yourself. Maya felt her heart swell with pride at her daughter's insight. That's exactly right, sweetheart. The money was just how we showed that we cared. And now Benjamin shows he cares by helping other families like us. And now we show we care by helping him help other families. The next morning brought a new challenge that would test everything Maya had learned about the delicate balance between helping and enabling. A young mother named Jennifer had been referred to the foundation by one of the mobile units, facing eviction with 3 children under the age of 7, working at a fast food restaurant for minimum wage, and drowning in debt from her ex-husbands. Abandoned credit cards. Maya sat across from Jennifer in the foundation's family consultation room, watching as the woman tried to maintain composure while her toddler climbed on her lap and her 5-year-old colored quietly in the corner. The baby slept in a car seat that had seen better days, and Maya could see the careful way Jennifer had arranged her appearance to hide the worst of their circumstances. Jennifer, Maya said gently, tell me about your situation. What would help most right now? Jennifer's voice was steady, but Maya could see the exhaustion in her eyes. I just need time. If I could catch up on rent, maybe get reliable childcare, I could pick up more hours at work. I've been trying to do everything myself, but there's only so much one person can do. Maya recognized the stubborn independence in Jennifer's voice, the pride that made asking for help feel like failure. She'd worn that same expression in social services offices, had used that same careful tone when explaining why she deserved assistance. What did you do before your ex-husband left? Maya asked. I was a bookkeeper. I was good at it too. But when Marcus left, he took our car, emptied our savings, and left me with about $15,000 in debt I didn't know existed. I had to take the first job I could find that would work around the kids' schedules. Maya made notes, already seeing the pathway that could lead Jennifer from crisis to stability. How would you feel about going back to bookkeeping? We have partnerships with several accounting firms that offer flexible schedules for parents. Hope flickered in Jennifer's eyes, quickly followed by doubt. I don't know if I remember enough. It's been 2 years since I worked in an office. What if we provided refresher training? Computer skills, updated software, everything you'd need to feel confident again. And childcare during the training? And childcare during the training. Maya watched Jennifer's face as the possibility of a real solution began to take shape. This was the moment that mattered most. Not the initial crisis, but the transition. From emergency assistance to sustainable independence. Jennifer, Maya said carefully, I want to tell you something. 3 years ago, I was sitting in a chair very much like the one you're in now. I was facing eviction. I had no idea how I was going to feed my daughter, and I felt like I'd failed at everything that mattered. Jennifer's eyes widened with recognition. You were. I was. And someone helped me, not just with money, but with the chance to help other people. That's what I'm offering you. Not just assistance, but the opportunity to use your skills to help families like yours. I don't understand. Maya leaned forward, her voice warm with conviction. We need a bookkeeper for the foundation. Someone who understands what it means to manage money when there's never enough. Someone who can help other families navigate financial planning from a place of real understanding. The salary would be enough to support your family comfortably, and the work would be meaningful. Jennifer's hand flew to her mouth. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a career. With benefits, with professional development opportunities, with the chance to make a difference in other people's lives, while building security for your own family. As Jennifer began to cry, the quiet tears of someone who'd been holding back hope for too long, Maya felt the familiar rush of gratitude that came with being able to pass along the gift she'd received. This was what Benjamin had understood when he'd chosen to help her, that the greatest assistance wasn't just solving someone's immediate problem, but giving them the tools to solve problems for others. There's one more thing, Maya said, pulling out a folder she'd prepared. The foundation has a housing assistance program. We can help you catch up on your current rent and security deposit for a new place if you'd like to move somewhere more suitable for your family. Jennifer looked at the folder, then at her children, then back at Maya. Why? Why would you do all this for us? Because someone did it for me. Because your children deserve the same stability and opportunities that my daughter has. Because you deserve to use your talents for something that matters. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you're willing to let us help you help others. Jennifer's smile was radiant through her tears. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. As Jennifer left the office with her children, her arms full of paperwork in her face bright with possibility, Maya felt the familiar sense of completion that came with closing the circle of kindness. In helping Jennifer, she was honoring not just Benjamin's gift to her, but her own gift to him, the $20 that had demonstrated her willingness to put others' needs before her own. Mom, Lily said, appearing in the doorway with her backpack and a drawing she'd made during Jennifer's visit. Did you help another family today? We helped another family today, Maya corrected. Remember, this is something we do together. I drew Jennifer's kids, Lily announced, holding up her artwork. The baby was sleeping, but I drew him with his eyes open so he could see how happy his mom was. Maya studied the drawing, marveling at her daughter's ability to capture not just the scene, but the emotion behind it. It's beautiful, sweetheart. What made you decide to draw them? Jennifer reminded me of you. Before Benjamin helped us, she had that same worried look you used to get when you thought I wasn't watching. Maya's chest tightened with the realization that despite all her efforts to shield Lily from their worst moments, her daughter had been aware of their struggles all along. I'm sorry you had to worry about that. I wasn't worried, Lily said. Matter-of-factly, I knew you'd figure it out. You always do. How did you know? Because you never stopped helping other people, even when we didn't have very much. I knew someone who was that good at helping would figure out how to help us too. Maya knelt down to Lily's level, overwhelmed by her daughter's wisdom. You know what? You're right. And do you know what the most important thing is? What? We figured it out together. And now we get to help other families figure it out too. Lily nodded solemnly. Like a job, but better than a job. Like a calling, Maya agreed. That evening, Maya found herself in Benjamin's office, reviewing the day's cases and planning for the week ahead. The foundation had grown beyond anything they'd initially imagined. What had started as a conversation about helping Maya's family had evolved into a comprehensive support system for families. Throughout Seattle, Maya, Benjamin said, looking up from a stack of reports, I want to show you something. He pulled out a leather-bound journal, its pages filled with careful handwriting. I've been keeping track of every family we've helped, every success story, every challenge we've overcome. But more than that, I've been writing letters to Emma, telling her about the work we're doing. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Benjamin, I want to read you what I wrote about Jennifer today. He opened to a recent page, his voice soft but steady. Dear Emma, today we helped a mother named Jennifer who reminded me of Maya when I first met her. She had that same fierce love for her children, that same determination to do whatever it took to protect them. Maya saw herself in Jennifer and offered her not just assistance, but opportunity. I think you would have loved Jennifer's children, especially the way her 5-year-old daughter colors with the same focused intensity you used to bring to your art projects. Benjamin paused, his voice thick with emotion. I told her about you, Emma. I told her that everything we do is because of what you taught me about kindness. I told her that you would have been proud of the woman Maya has become, the mother Lily is growing up to be, the way $20 multiplied into hope for so many families. Maya reached across the desk, taking Benjamin's hand. She is proud, Benjamin. I can feel it. Some say this is fate, Benjamin continued, echoing a phrase Maya had heard him use before. Others believe it's choice. I think it's both. I think Emma chose to put you in my path that night, and I think you chose to see past my appearance to my need. I think Jennifer chose to accept our help, and we chose to see her potential rather than just her problems. Maya squeezed his hand. What do you think Emma would say about what we've built? Benjamin's smile was soft, touched with the kind of peace that comes from honoring a promise kept. I think she'd say we're just getting started. As autumn settled over Seattle, Maya found herself reflecting on the year that had transformed her life. The foundation had helped over 200 families. The scholarship fund had enabled dozens of parents to pursue education and career training. And the mobile units had become a model for similar programs in other cities. But the real measure of success wasn't in the numbers, it was in the stories. Like Jennifer, who'd not only become the foundation's head bookkeeper, but had also started a financial literacy program for single parents. Like Maria Santos, who'd graduated from nursing school and was now working in the pediatric ward of Seattle Children's Hospital. Like James Wright, who'd moved from sleeping in his car to managing one of the foundation's housing assistance programs. Mom, Lily said one evening as they walked through the community center where Maya had first met Benjamin. Do you think he comes back here sometimes? Benjamin, I mean. Maya looked around the familiar space, remembering the rain-soaked night that had changed everything. I think he does. I think he comes back to remember what it felt like to need help, so he never forgets why the work matters. Do you think he's still testing people? I think he's still learning from people. We all are. As if summoned by their conversation, Benjamin appeared in the doorway, dressed in his old clothes, layers and patches, and the careful mending that spoke of someone who'd learned to make things last. Maya felt her heart skip a beat, remembering the first time she'd seen him in this context. Benjamin, she called out. Uncertain, he turned, and his smile was the same one she remembered from that rainy night. Maya, Lily, I was hoping I'd find you here. What are you doing? Lily asked with characteristic directness. I was having dinner, he said, gesturing toward the serving line, and thinking about how much has changed since the last time I ate here. Maya understood. You wanted to remember. I wanted to remember, and I wanted to see if I could still recognize the people who need help. It's different now, knowing what I know about how help can multiply. They sat together at one of the folding tables, sharing a simple meal in the place where their partnership had begun. Maya watched Benjamin interact with the other diners, noting the way he listened with the same focused attention he'd given to Lily that first night. There's a young father over there, Benjamin said quietly, indicating a man in his 20s who was carefully portioning food for a toddler while eating very little himself. He's been here 3 times this week. Always makes sure his daughter eats first. Maya followed his gaze, seeing the familiar signs of a parent stretching resources to their limit. Should we approach him? I think we should send Jennifer, Benjamin said. She'll recognize the look. Maya nodded, understanding that Benjamin had learned to see beyond his own perspective to consider whose help might be most meaningful. You've changed, Benjamin. From when we first met. We all have. That's what happens when you let yourself be helped and learn to help others. As they prepared to leave, Maya felt the completion of another circle. The community center remained the same, folding tables, styrofoam bowls, volunteers ladling soup, but everything else had transformed. She was no longer the desperate mother giving away her last $20, but she was still the woman who would choose kindness over self-preservation. Maya, Benjamin said as they reached the door, I want you to know that what you gave me that night wasn't just money. It was hope. Hope that there were still people in the world who would choose to help a stranger, even when it cost them everything. And what you gave me wasn't just opportunity, Maya replied. It was the chance to discover that helping others is the most meaningful work anyone can do. They stood in the doorway, watching the rain that had started to fall, the same gentle Seattle rain that had brought them together. But this time, Maya had an umbrella, and Benjamin had a warm coat, and Lily had rain boots that kept her feet dry. Some say this is fate, Maya said, echoing Benjamin's earlier words. Others believe it's choice. What do you believe? Benjamin asked. Maya looked at her daughter, skipping through puddles with the joy of a child who'd learned that storms always pass and that kindness always matters. I believe it's both. I believe we were meant to meet, and I believe we chose to help each other. And now we choose to help everyone we can. As they walked into the rain together, Maya felt the profound satisfaction of a story that had found its proper ending. The $20 she'd given away had multiplied into security for her family, opportunity for hundreds of others, and purpose that would last a lifetime. But more than that, it had proven something she'd always hoped was true, that kindness is never wasted, that small acts of love can change the world, and that the most powerful gift anyone can give is the willingness to see another person's humanity and respond to it with their own. Mom, Lily said, her voice carrying through the rain. Next time we meet someone who needs help, we'll be ready, won't we? Maya smiled, pulling her daughter close as they walked toward home. We'll always be ready, sweetheart. That's what family does. Behind them, the community center glowed with warm light, filled with people sharing food and stories and the simple comfort of being seen and valued. Ahead of them, the city stretched out in all its complexity. Thousands of families facing challenges, thousands of opportunities to help, thousands of chances to prove that kindness multiplies when it's given freely. Chen had learned that the most important choice anyone can make is to help when helping is hard, to give when giving hurts, and to trust that love shared is love multiplied. Her $20 had become 200 families helped, had become a foundation that would outlast them all, had become proof that the smallest seeds of kindness can grow into forests of hope. As they reached their apartment building, safe, warm, and filled with purpose, Maya understood that this was how stories should end, not with all questions answered, but with all hearts open to the possibility of continuing to write new chapters of compassion, one choice at a time. The rain continued to fall, washing the city clean and preparing it for tomorrow's opportunities to choose kindness over comfort, service over self-interest, and love over fear. And in apartments and shelters and community centers throughout Seattle, families were learning that help is always possible, that kindness always matters, and that sometimes the most powerful thing anyone can do is simply care enough to act up. Maya's story had become everyone's story, proof that the world changes not through grand gestures, but through individual moments of choosing to see each other's humanity and respond with our own. $20 had become a legacy, a rainy night had become a foundation, and a desperate act of kindness had become a lifetime of service. The most beautiful part of all was that the story was still being written, one family at a time, one choice at a time, one act of kindness at a time. And it would continue to be written as long as there were people willing to give their last $20 to help a stranger, and strangers willing to turn that kindness into hope for the world.